What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Variant the Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Arris with Tim Conley.
What's going on, Variant Nation? We are back finally after a bit of a hiatus, a forced hiatus.
A blizzard, if you will, that passed us in Texas. Dude, that was so...
stupid? I agree.
Dude, it was... yeah, for sure. But like, it's one of those things where we haven't had temperatures that cold since 1983 in Texas.
Yeah.
And, you know... Texas isn't built for this kind of cold because of that, because it like rarely ever happens. It happens like every 20, 30 years. So I'm sure everyone listening knows this. It became national news. Like over here, we lost power, pipes were freezing. Basically the world, like Texas shut down for like 4 days is essentially what happened.
I mean, unfortunately it was way worse than that. Like we haven't had cold like this in a while, but it was compounded and I think exacerbated by the just total mismanagement of our electrical grid, which is what caused the vast majority of the severe problems for a lot of people all over Texas.
For sure. And we both you and I fared pretty well. Like we came out good in comparison.
You a little bit better than me, but yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, in all, you know, considering, you know, the people who were literally being forced to like burn their furniture for firewood to keep warm, and the people who are still without clean water, you know, like almost a week after and stuff like that. We did pretty good. I know you, unfortunately, you did have you ran out of propane, so you had no heat in your house.
That's
during
right.
this.
For any of you ever considering using AmeriGas, I usually don't name companies, but for any of you considering using the company AmeriGas, they were just awful for us during this whole situation. I ordered a refill because we have a big propane tank. For those of you, many of you around the country are familiar with natural gas and propane and stuff like that. We have a big 250-gallon propane tank. And when it was getting low back at the end of January, we put it in for a refill, and they just left us high and dry. And we actually ran out at the coldest time, which led to a frozen water pipe, which actually burst. So now we've got a homeowner's claim in, and it was just a hot mess for a minute. But like you said, we tried not to complain because it was, for any of the struggles, it was minuscule by comparison to some. Sadly, we're looking at over 60 people who actually died during all of this. So it was horrible. It was a hot mess.
And it makes it more horrible because this is something that, you know, if they would have prepped properly, that wouldn't have happened. But you even with that said, you know, you're running out of heat because your house is, you know, heated with propane and stuff like that, which led to one of your water pipes breaking. You still had power the whole time.
Yes.
Sure, you were cold, but you had power.
Yeah. And I think you did most of the time too, right? You just toward the last day or so.
Yeah, for one day we lost power. It was going out like in and out every hour. They were doing like fluctuating like rolling blackouts is what they would call them, or brownouts, where they would turn it off for like, you know, 30 minutes to an hour, and then you get like 2 hours with it on, and then they would turn it off for like another like 30 minutes or so and turn it back on. So that lasted like a day. But, you know, all things considered, you know, my in-laws for instance, they didn't have power for 2.5 days, like straight, pretty much.
Yeah,
it got like 30 degrees in their house. So crazy freaking times.
Yeah,
but it's gone.
It was wild.
I woke up one morning looking at my phone, 0 degrees. Now I know for some people they're like, yeah, that's the, you know, people listening like, yeah, that's kind of my norm. This is Texas. That is not the norm for Texas.
Yeah, lots of snow.
And then to be more, you know, you couldn't be more Texas because literally like 2-3 days after, it went from being 17, 12, 0 degrees, you know, below freezing for like 4 days straight, to going to like, what is it, 70 degrees right now? Like 5 days after, 4 days after?
It's literally about 73 degrees outside right now.
Dude, and like you would go out because... You will go because I went out there, like we drove like around the neighborhood like very slowly because, you know, there was lots of snow everywhere. Everything was iced over, but it was like we have to at least see. Plus, we wanted to kind of run the car battery because in extreme colds it kills the battery really fast. So we went around the block and like the outskirts of our community, and you just see white, like everything was covered in white. It was so weird. And then what made it weirder is like 2 day, you know, because this was towards the end, we started venturing out. Then towards the end, when the ice started melting, the snow started going away, and eventually, because I guess on Thursday is when things started. No, Friday is when things started to thaw. Sunday was completely thawed, and when it was thawed on Sunday, I was like, you would have never thought, like someone just flying into Texas or coming in, you would have never have known that like a freaking national, or a state disaster just happened in Texas. Like, insane.
Without a doubt. Yeah, it was the most bizarre moment for me was when, similar to what you just said, we went, I believe it was Friday. I was out shoveling massive amounts of snow and ice out of my driveway and my sidewalks there. And by Saturday around like 1 o'clock, I went and drove to my sister's house who lives nearby. And there was nothing, no ice, no snow anywhere. Like I literally said to my wife, I said, I just spent half the day shoveling snow yesterday for no reason at all. It was completely gone. Like you couldn't even tell anything had just happened.
If you would have just waited.
Yeah, just
you would have waited like 12 more hours.
Not even 24 hours, bro. Not even 24 hours. It was bizarre. I was like, how on earth? Because it was still relatively cool outside, at the time. But it was, it was in the like high 40s. But I mean, everything was just completely gone. And I mean, again, sadly, like there's still a lot of people. We've actually got, for those of you listening, we're actually supporting several charities that are helping with the recovery and the relief and the support of Texans and Oklahomans who are still recovering. I mean, some of the devastation, like the damage that was done to buildings and homes, especially, was just absolutely insane. Burst water pipes all over the place. They had mass water problems all over the state because of burst pipes, not just in homes, but underground. I mean, it's been crazy. So we actually are working with several charities, and you can go to our YouTube channel, Variant's YouTube channel, and support this Texas, North Texas Food Bank, along with several other great charities that are helping with that. So if you want to help us and donate and give towards that recovery and or efforts to provide relief to the many hundreds of thousands all over Texas that are still having a pretty hard time, please do so if you can. But I would say collectively, we're all pretty glad it's over.
Yeah, for sure. And going off that one bit, they could find the links for all those charities in our How Powerful is Quicksilver episode.
Yes. So I'm sorry. I should mention that. It's actually going to be in more than that. You're going to find it in both the Who is Red X, How Powerful is Quicksilver. And we'll keep it in every episode going forward for probably the next month.
We're going backwards. We're gonna go backwards and put them in episodes that have been up.
Put it in the How Powerful or Who is Red X episode, and I'll drop it in the link for this of this podcast as well. So whichever you click on, you'll find it
for sure. But now with our Blizzard story out of the way, let's get into some happy things, some fun things that don't, revolve around sub-zero temperatures. Again, I couldn't believe waking up in 0 degrees because I grew up in Florida, so coming to Texas was a stretch for me because Florida doesn't have Florida's winter is like 60 degrees, right? Like 50 on like a really cold winter, right? So so moving to Texas a few years ago, well, I say a few years ago, it's almost like 10 years ago now. But moving to Texas, once I was already an adult, that was a loop for me because I was like, oh man, I'm not used to this. So having 0 degree temperature, I'm like, no, thank you. I'm from the sunshine.
I tell you all the time. I've told you many times. My wife, because we're both Florida boys, Florida natives, and this is my 10th year in Texas, 2021. But my wife wanted to move to Minnesota many years ago.
Lord.
And I was like,
Lord help you.
Are you on drugs? Like, have you been doing some sniffing of the white powders? Like, what's going on?
Crazy.
I said, there's no way. We're tropical people. There's no way we could survive. So after this whole incident, she was like, never in a million years. She's done with that thought.
And it's weird too, because like I like the cold, but I like normal cold, right? Like normal 40 degrees, that's fine. Yes. I'll give you 35.
Typical Texas cold is my
right.
But
type once of cold, you start getting below freezing and then stay like that consistently, I'm like no.
Combined with the snow and ice and all of that,
right? Because I was born in New York, but I only lived in New York for the first 4 years of my life. So I was raised in Florida.
Barely even remember it.
Right. So I was, I moved to Florida when I was 4, and then that's where I was raised for the majority of my life until I was 22 when I moved to Texas, something like that. But anyway, I digress. WandaVision. We weren't able to talk about it last week because, again, Blizzard. But that means we get to talk about 2 episodes this week, episode 6 and episode 7. So for those of you who have not watched episode 6 and 7, spoilers galore for the entirety of WandaVision thus far.
Yeah, and we've since gotten a couple of more pretty big reveals. One is you can call it was a reveal, but it was also kind of more of a confirmation. So, well, yeah, we had some cool stuff, couple good episodes, and some more cool stuff happened. So,
yeah, we were talking briefly about it before we got on, and though I really enjoyed this episode 6 and 7 of WandaVision, it didn't have as many hefty reveals as episodes 4 and 5. I would because episode I believe it was 4 is the one that dumped everything on us. It showed, it was outside of her hex the entire episode and basically showed us, a Sword's point of view and stuff like that. And, showed us everything going on. And then episode 5 gave us the big reveal of wait a minute. Quicksilver is back, but not only is Quicksilver back, it's Evan Peters Quicksilver from the Fox X-Men universe. So those were pretty hard to top. You know what I mean? Those are pretty massive reveals. And again, the episode 6 and 7 were not bad by any means. They were great. It's just they're, don't expect us to be talking about massive stuff like the episodes 4 and 5.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But one of the coolest things I would say out of episode 6 would be towards the end, where Vision has now fully realized that, Wanda is doing some stuff here and she's manipulating this reality and world and keeping these people hostage. You know what I mean? Forcing them to be there against their will to play out her little sitcom reality. At which point, by the end of the episode, it's a Halloween episode and he ventures all the way out to the outskirts of her reality and is able to push himself out to where Sword comes up and is watching him, but he couldn't hold it long enough. Her power is too strong and he got sucked back in piece by piece, which was pretty crazy to see.
Yeah, it was I would say the entire episode. I really love what they've done with Vision, just as the series has progressed, where because he doesn't have a memory of anything past him coming back or Wanda bringing him back, right? Or at least we think it's Wanda. We think it's Wanda. But he doesn't recall anything. He doesn't really know anything about himself. He doesn't remember the Avengers. He doesn't remember anything that happened, in Endgame or any of the events of Infinity War when Thanos killed him. So everything is new to him, but he has maintained his core of who he is. Right, his decency, his want to do what is right, and
he's still that Avenger. He's still that that hero.
Right. He's still the vision of the Avengers, and so he's really struggling with what Wanda is doing, and he's now moved on to I'm going to find out what's going on here, and I'm going to figure out how to help these people who are clearly being hurt by this, because Wanda is just not budging, and he just can't take it. He's not going to sit back and watch it, even though it's Wanda, right? So what they've been doing with him with giving us this strange relationship between him and Wanda, and him kind of trying to play the role for the boys and the other people around him, while simultaneously going about the business of finding out exactly what's happening, how far does this go, how many people are involved. And in episode 6, we see that lead to him walking all the way to the outskirts, as you said, and he literally tries to break outside of the hex, and where he begins to start getting pulled apart. But as he's literally being ripped apart, he's reaching out to the FBI and the Sword, thank you, Sword agents who are there. Who meet him at the hex because they see he's coming out, and he knows he's dying, and he's still like, please, these people need help, and he's willing to give his life again. So I just love what they're doing with Vision.
They're showing why he is one of the greatest Avengers.
Yeah, and it really has made me really, just like you've been saying over the last few weeks, really wish that they bring him back, because he's just such a great character, and I would love to see them really do more with him and stretch out, his overall story arc inside the MCU. But whether that happens or not, we'll see here pretty soon. But even and then beyond that, everything they're doing with Wanda, this in episode 7, it moved on to this kind of 90s Office Modern Family spinoff type deal. That was pretty fun. But you're seeing her progression where she's kind of starting to fall apart a little bit. You know, in episode 6 there, when Vision breaks out or tries to break out of the hex and he actually starts dying, Wanda becomes aware of it because the sons now, that's another thing. The sons, Tommy and Billy, their powers begin to emerge in episode 6. So we start to see, you know, Wiccan and what is it? Speeder? Speed. Thank you. Speeder. Give me a break. So we start to see Wiccan and Speed emerge. So we see that happening, and Wiccan actually senses there's something wrong with his father, tells Wanda, and Wanda just massively expands the size of the hex outside the borders there, and many of the FBI trucks and everything turn into the circus and stuff. So it was a really fun episode. And then in episode 7, it was a fun episode, but the big thing obviously was the big reveal and confirmation that Agnes is in fact Agatha Harkness, which was, it was kind of at this point for me at least, and I think many others, it was like we were all just waiting for that. But it was a lot of fun, and now it leads to the next big question of, are we in fact going to get Mephisto? For me, that seems like the obvious next step, right? That we are going to see Mephisto emerge by the end of this series as a major, a big bad for phase 4 of the MCU.
For sure. I think like going back to episode 6, I feel like not many people are talking about it as much, but like you're saying, Wiccan and Speed got their powers in that episode. And not only did they get their powers, Wiccan looks pretty close to how he looks in the comic books.
Yes.
Now Speed just looks like a junior Quicksilver in the episode. But one, they got their powers, and two, they're doing homage. That entire Halloween episode was doing little tips of the hat to their comic book costumes. Right, Vision had a costume that looked very similar to how it looks in the comics. Scarlet Witch, Wiccan, and then even Speed a little bit, even though, again, he was mimicking his uncle in the show, or in the comics as well, too, Pedro. But I want to see more of them, too. Like, I'm hoping, because as we know in the comic books, they're basically like pieces of Mephisto's soul, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if they're going to go away or if they're going to come back, because they go away and then they come back in the comic book. So I'm hoping they stay, because I feel like they're ultimately going to go with the Young Avengers in the MCU at some point. We already know we're getting Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series. We already know they're pretty much like setting up what's his name? Not Hank Pym, Scott Lang. We know they're pretty much setting up Scott Lang's daughter in the Ant-Man movie. So now you have Wiccan and now you have Speed. So I'm like, all the pieces are kind of there to start, you making these kids their own team, aka the Young Avengers. I would love to see characters like Hulkling and Patriot and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. But I think that's something people aren't talking much about right now, but could be very key in the future. But like what you just said, the big reveal is Agnes as Agatha Harkness, which pretty much everyone who knows anything about Marvel comic books, that was their guess. I mean, her name was literally Agatha. Like, it was kind of like the writing was on the wall, but it was still, it was still cool nonetheless. I think the thing for me now is where are they going to go with it? Because yes, they had that awesome, like very catchy song at the end that was kind of like the Munsters, where like it was Agatha all along, like that whole thing. Awesome. But it's like, is she the villain? Or, because again, at the end of episode 7, she's basically like, yeah, I've been, manipulating, helping do all this as well. But does that mean she's the full-on villain, or is she doing this for another reason? Again, at the time of us talking about this, we haven't seen episode 8 yet because it's not out currently. But I want to know, because in the comics, she walks that line a lot where she's good a lot of the time, but she also does things that are bad. So she's kind of wishy-washy depending on her current situation, because she is a witch, right? So she's not necessarily good. She's literally from the Salem trials. But she also helped Franklin Richards at the Fantastic Four. She trained Scarlet Witch. So again, she's one of those characters that kind of teeters that line. So I want to know if they're going to go full villain with her in the MCU, or is it? I feel like it's going to be a psych out where they want us to think she's the main villain, and then by episode 9, it's really like going to be she did all this because Mephisto was going to get Scarlet Witch or something like that. So she's basically doing this to protect Scarlet Witch, or maybe they reveal somehow like. They go back in the past, they give us flashbacks, and they're like, hey, yeah, I kind of, was there when you were a kid and helped you with your powers, and kind of do something alluding to the comics a little bit, maybe.
Right.
Or even, because in the comics, again, she's like I believe she's almost 11,000 years old, roughly, right? That's how old she is in the books. Right. So I'm wondering, too, if they're going to link her to the Fantastic Four, because that seems like another very obvious thing to do, because literally she's first introduced in Fantastic Four issue 94, where she becomes the nanny for Franklin Richards and stays the nanny for Franklin for many, many years. Basically, Sue and Reed picked her because they're like, hey, you're a nanny, but also you're very powerful with the mystic arts, so you can protect them if, any of these villains that attack us go after him. So I feel like it's almost like she's connected to two big characters, right? Mephisto, obviously Scarlet Witch, but also Fantastic Four. Yeah. And we already know the Fantastic Four are confirmed for the MCU. So, and everyone's guessing that Monica Rambeau's friend, her aerospace engineer friend, is Reed Richards or someone from the Fantastic Four. So it would make all the sense in the world by episode 9 that we see Reed Richards, or maybe even Sue Storm, because rumors going around that Jennifer Lawrence has been cast as Sue Storm for the MCU. So maybe even her. I don't know. There's lots of possibilities. I know another theory is going around that Peter Evans' Quicksilver is actually Mephisto in disguise, because I don't know how many. I didn't even ask you about this and how many people caught this, but there was a post-credit scene or an end credit scene in episode 7. Did you watch that?
I didn't. I didn't even.
You did.
We had a plan.
Okay.
Oh man, don't tell me. I got to see it now.
It's not that big of a deal. I don't think it's
okay. Well, what is it?
It's literally like 5-7 seconds. So basically, Monica Rambeau opens up the doors to the basement where Agnes's lair is, and then the camera cuts, and Quicksilver comes up right behind her saying something like some smart remark, be like, "Hey, what are you gonna do down there?" That's not what he says, but he says something like a funny remark.
Okay.
Yeah. So
because I was actually going to mention the fact that Quicksilver did not appear in episode 7 at all up until that point.
He did in that post credits. It was like a 5. It happens real quick.
Okay.
And again, that's not exactly what he said, but he made a smart remark, basically like, "What are you doing?" Something to that effect.
I'm gonna have to go and watch that. Yeah.
So that begs the question: is he Mephisto? Because we see in that Agatha All Along sequence that she did manipulate him, because she, you see her on the outside of the house with her magic powers around him while he's knocking on the door. So I don't know. I'm very, very curious. And can we just say the big thing? They haven't touched on this multiverse stuff at all. Like they introduced them. They talked about it a little bit in episode 6,
right?
Because Wanda says, "How come you don't look like the brother I remember?" But they don't really. Nothing gets resolved.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Why do you look?
Right. And then she even, much like she did with Vision in earlier episodes, she sees him like zombified and dead with the gunshot wounds from Age of Ultron. So I'm very curious to see. Is this the start of the multiverse, or is this just a nod similar to like J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man Far From Home? I don't know yet.
Even with J. Jonah with Simmons coming in as Jameson, that wasn't just a nod, a tip of the hat. They're going full multiverse with Spider-Man. That was absolutely a kickoff, to let everybody know this is about to break wide open. This is about to go in a very different direction than you thought.
But they introduced Jonah as the main Jonah, at least we were led to believe, to that Tom Holland Spider-Man. Like it wasn't like that Peter Parker was an alternate reality. They were like, "Oh no, this is your Jonah." You know what I mean? So I don't know.
But what I'm saying is there was meaning to that. There was purpose to it. So you think that was just to ease people into it, like a tease? Yeah, that, and to it was because at the time everybody was just so wrapped up in the cool factor of like, oh my gosh,
right? It's like they got him again.
Yeah. So everybody was kind of just wrapped up in that. But then we started realizing, they're turning hard into the multiverse. There's clearly there was purpose for this. We don't even know what that purpose was yet, really, because it was at the end. It was at the very end of the film. And then it literally just cuts out. And similarly with this, I just find, it's possible for sure what you're saying, that it's maybe just some kind of a tease. I just think that would be so empty and stupid for them to introduce such a major, aspect of this connection between 20th Century Fox's X-Men and the MCU, and for them to just, do that arbitrarily. and then just never do anything else with it. I cannot see that happening. I cannot imagine them just being like, oh, what would be just a fun thing to do? Let's introduce one of 20th Century Fox current X-Men characters that just had a movie a year and a half ago into the MCU, and then just move on and act like it didn't happen. That to me, there's absolute intentionality there, and it serves a lot of different elements of what they're doing as well, which only bolsters that idea. You know what I mean? The fact that they are going in the multiverse direction, the fact that we know with Spider-Man, for instance, they're introducing Tobey Maguire, they're introducing Andrew Garfield, they're introducing Molina as a Doc Ock, and so on and so on and so on, right? We know they're doing this. We know that we're getting tie-ins now for the 20th Century Fox's, or not 20th Century Fox, Sony's version of the Venomverse, right? All of these things are now starting to mesh. So I just don't think that is an accident. I don't personally think that character, the Quicksilver that we met, I could see how people could think that, and I could absolutely see them doing it. As far as making him being, Mephisto in disguise. Cause my theory was that Dottie was Mephisto in disguise.
Who?
Dottie, the female character in the first episode.
Yep.
Because Agnes introduces, and we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, when Agnes introduces Wanda to Dottie, she gets real nervous and says to her, like, Dottie is the key to everything. Right? Mm-hmm. You want to impress this person.
She was the queen bee in that neighborhood.
Right. She's the queen bee. She's the key to everything. Right. And there's a lot about that interaction that really, even Dottie, the way Dottie treated Wanda, the whole thing, that said that she is a much bigger role in this whole thing. So whether or not, it could be both. It could be that Dottie and Pietro turn out to be Mephisto in disguise, and he just appears in different ways. Mm-hmm. The real question for me at this point now goes to, because for me, it's like a lock. We're getting Mephisto at some point. For me, it's just, at least in my opinion, it may turn out not to be. And
it's like the most logical path.
Yeah. The fact that this plays into the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and we know that that's going to be a horror. It fits so perfectly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's just so many reasons why it's just like, that seems like an obvious, a next step.
Especially with Wanda's kids. I feel like that's if you know anything about the comics,
mm-hmm.
they're literally pieces of his soul in the book. So it's like,
exactly.
If you're going to follow that by any means, that would make all the sense in the world.
Right. So it really, for me, it just boils down to, at this point, is who is Agatha Harkness? What is her role in all of this now? Is she going to be something of an anti-hero? Is
or a
she
mentor?
Coming in? Yeah, is she going to end up being a mentor to Wanda in some way? I think that's a real possibility. Because this is my vibe. This is my theory at this point. With us seeing everything up to now, I think that what we're probably going to end up seeing is that Agatha is going to end up having shown up where Wanda was creating and manipulating this alternate universe, because she is tied to, she's a witch. And so she senses dark energy. She sees what Wanda's doing. She comes in to disrupt it. And she knows that she's drawing off of Mephisto, right? So they're going to play, it's going to be like this, this tease, kind of like what you mentioned, where they pretend like she's the villain initially. And then it turns out that she's trying to disrupt, similar to what happened in the comics. She's trying to disrupt what Wanda's doing because she knows it's destructive. So she ends up, instead of working for Mephisto, she's trying to not necessarily work against Mephisto as much as trying to, alter what Wanda is doing. And and one of the things that really kind of was a tip for me was when they were having that one scene where Wanda was talking to the camera in episode 7, and she was talking about how all of the magic and a lot of things were freaking out, and she can't figure out why she can't control it, and things are falling apart, or she feels that way. And a voice comes from behind the camera that says, do you ever think that maybe you deserve it?
And it was a male voice too, right? It was a dude.
And it was a male voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Wanda says, wait, what? And she gets all serious and she's like, you're not supposed to talk. We then later find out that it's Agatha behind the camera at the end of the episode when they reveal that she is in fact Harkness. They reveal that it was her behind the camera. Now, why we heard a male voice is yet to be figured out or revealed. But she's a witch, so I guess that could be a simple answer.
Right. Yeah.
But the fact that she said, "Do you ever think that you deserve it?" And even certain things like allowing Wanda to see Vision's corpse, Pietro's corpse, right? To see them as corpses, almost snapping her out of this fantasy world that she's in, kind of teases a little bit that she's intentionally trying to disrupt what Wanda is doing, because Wanda is likely drawing off of, Mephisto's power without knowing it.
Yeah.
So I think we might get that twist there.
For sure. I think that would be a good way to go, because everyone has been saying Agatha this whole time. So once, when she was revealed, I was like, cool, but it was a little underwhelming just because it's like, yeah, it's what I've been guessing since like literally the first episode.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? So to have it, almost to like subvert that a little bit and be like, yeah, it's Agatha, but she's not necessarily the bad guy. Like there's a bigger force out there that's pulling the strings, which is Mephisto, which again is, something we've all been guessing from the jump. But I mean, they did say there's going to be some sort of cameo or appearance from a character that no one's going to be expecting, which I kind of wish they didn't say. But because now everyone's waiting for it. Like, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Spider-Man? Is it going to be Doctor Strange? Reed Richards? Who? But I wonder if that's going to be Mephisto or not. All I know is there's 2 episodes left. And I feel like wherever episode 9 leaves off, whether that's Mephisto finally revealing himself, to be pulling all the strings and all his evil glory, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to pick up exactly from where the show leaves off. Because we know, if we know anything from the MCU, with all these post-credit scenes and, cliffhangers and stuff, they literally like pick up exactly. And sometimes even reuse shots in the next movie to connect it. So I'm very excited just because we're going to get answers, but I think it might give us a little tease of the look and feel of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You know what I mean?
I agree, yeah.
So
I agree.
I'm very, I still think Doctor Strange is going to show up. That seems like, for me, I feel like by the end, if they reveal Mephisto, that's going to force Doctor Strange's hand. He's going to show up in all his, Sorcerer Supreme glory and be like, hey, what's happening? We got to put this guy back in hell. Right, what did you do, Wanda? What's happening, girl? You know what I mean? So, and I know maybe, Wanda fully loses it and she becomes one of the villains for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I know that's something I've been thinking where, a lot of people are like, oh, she's going to probably resolve this by the end. It's like, what if this whole series is ramping her up to really make her the main antagonist for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? She's like one of the horsemen for Mephisto or something like that. You know what I mean? That's a route they could go.
Yep. It is. One of the reasons I would say I think that probably not, though, is sadly because they showed some things in trailers leading up to the release of the series where it shows Vision and Wanda fighting together to kind of save their, I don't know, to defend their life. I don't know.
Did it really? I didn't see that. Thanks.
Yeah,
spoiler.
Yeah, spoiler. Yeah. So,
oh man,
that was in the actual trailer.
I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, it was in the first trailer actually, and it shows Vision saying to Wanda. It shows him saying to Wanda, then she says, our world's being taken or something like that, and he says, then let's fight for it. And it shows them fighting together.
But as we know, MCU has done it several times. They'll put stuff in the trailers and even purposely change stuff in the trailers, and it's different in the movie to trick people.
That is true. They do that. So it's possible. Maybe that was a misdirect. But I do think it would be cool that for them, if they went this route with Agatha Harkness, to where it's kind of a twist, they make you think she's the villain and then she's not. It opens the door for her because Wanda has not come into her full power set. She's not even called Scarlet Witch yet. Right? No. So it opens the door by the end for maybe her to embrace, maybe that's not Agatha's intention at first to mentor her, but by the end she says, listen, there's a lot you don't know about what your capabilities are. And she says, maybe I can help you. And she turns into that mentor where she begins to help her and figure out like all of her abilities and how to control it and how to be more cautious with it. Because, all throughout the MCU so far, Wanda has been responsible for some of the biggest destructive acts.
Well, she's the reason why the Accords got implemented.
Exactly right. Yep. She was, they had her on lockdown for a while there because of it and things like that. So, that would be a cool way to do that and bring Wanda fully into her own. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot of different directions they could still go with it. And we're going to find it all out here in the next couple of episodes. There's only 2 episodes.
Yeah, there's only 2 episodes left. I imagine we're going to find out a lot in this episode 8 coming up here quickly.
And I agree with you. I think Doctor Strange is going to appear, and
he has to, right? He has to.
Yeah, I would think because it is feeding right in that movie. But I also agree that we're likely going to see a Fantastic Four character introduced. I would love to see. I know I've already said this, but I would still love to see them continue on by the whole introduction of the Pietro from the 20th Century Fox X-Men universe. I would love to see that not be just some little ploy, but rather something that Mephisto made happen.
It would be
they actually made it. They actually insinuated in episode 7 that it was Agatha that made that happen.
Yes,
so that wouldn't have been. So I doubt if the twist is that she's not working with Mephisto but against the whole thing. Then he would definitely not be Mephisto in disguise. He would maybe that would have been something she would have done to brought there to disrupt the whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if that's the route they went, yeah.
Yeah, so if in fact that's the case, then that leaves the door open for us not only to get an introduction to a Fantastic Four character, but maybe also, and maybe this is who they're talking about, maybe we get either Charles Xavier, we get what's his name? I always forget his name. The guy who plays Charles. No. The actor who plays Charles Xavier in the 20th Century Fox.
Oh man, he's such a great actor.
I always forget his name.
John McAvoy.
Yes, James McAvoy.
James McAvoy.
James McAvoy, right? Yeah. So James McAvoy as either Charles Xavier or Michael Fassbender appears as Magneto, which again we know in at least the comics is the Wanda and Pietro's father.
I'm so torn with that. The more I sit on that, as cool as it would be, I'm totally down for those actors to reprise their roles from the Fox X-Men universe. But right. I don't know if I'd want them to bring them in and make them, the X-Men proper in the MCU. You know what I mean? Because there were so many continuity problems and stuff with those movies, and they've been going on so long. I'm like, it'd be awesome for them to be part of the multiverse for sure. But I would want the MCU to cast their own Charles Xavier, their own Wolverine. You know what I mean? Just because you're bringing a lot of that baggage in, and if it's just an alternate version, awesome. Everyone knows I'm very vocal about it. I love alternate versions. I'm even like, DCEU, bring in freaking a Val Kilmer Batman, George Clooney, bring in those bat nipples because it's an alternate version. It doesn't matter. But I would want the MCU's proper, their 616 version of the character, just so fresh start. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff, and you don't have the memories attached to those faces that played those characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I want see because I've thought for sure, and again, I know I'm repeating myself. I thought for sure that was going to be the case, that they were just going to recast the whole thing and start from scratch. Mm-hmm. But after they did this with Pietro, Quicksilver, it really made me think it kind of makes sense, because how are they going to explain where were the mutants during the entire fight with Thanos, right? Where were all these mutants? Where were the X-Men? So now introducing that, they can now, and while simultaneously we know for a fact that they're introducing the multiverse, they can say, well, these are characters from another multiverse that starts to blend, because of due to events that have yet to be seen in the MCU, which they're clearly about to roll out, where the multiverse breaks open. These are other heroes from another, alternate universe, and they wind up somehow interacting with the Avengers and the heroes of the proper, MCU proper. That makes the most sense, for them to do, as far as where they've brought everything to this point. Now they can still do it the other way, but they're just going to have to explain why were all these insanely powerful people, because Wanda is supposed to be a mutant amongst the X-Men, right? So it's how do you explain that Charles Xavier was already in existence, that Magneto already existed, that all of these major, extremely powerful, Omega level powerful mutants existed, and not a single one of them was anywhere to be found during a battle for the universe. You know what I mean?
Because the snap created them.
Because the snap. I mean, that is possible. They could do that. I mean, they could make that argument that, you know, the snaps, because there were multiple.
Yeah, there was.
That it somehow, you know, manipulated things and, you know, genetically mutated some people and all that. Because they could absolutely do that. But you'd then be implying that, like, the X-Men are a long way from even existing, right? Because these people would just be finding out that they even have powers, let alone be starting a school for the, you know what I mean? You know, so I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that could go.
Well, yeah, because we already know Wanda she's not a mutant in the MCU, at least that's now. She got her powers from the freaking Infinity Stones. You know what I mean?
I mean, she's kind of a mutant in a way.
Well, they flat out say she got her powers
her
from the Infinity Stone. Her and her brother.
Yeah, but they used, well, which stone was it that was inside the spear?
And the spear, it was a Mind Stone, I believe.
Was it the Mind Stone?
I believe so.
Man, I'm getting them all jumbled now. Regardless, the point is that what they say was they are the result of genetic modifications from experimenting with the power from that stone. So it's not like the stone by itself just, like, you know, altered them. They were genetically modified essentially. So
right, but they were given they said they were given their powers by that. They didn't really elaborate on it that much though, because they weren't allowed to, because they had to be very vague with the whole X-Men thing. So they just had to be like, okay, they're not mutants. They don't have the X. But that's why I'm kind of saying that, because they were like, it's not the X gene. It was the stone that gave them their powers. You know what I mean?
Right. So I'm confused. I'm curious to see, like, how do you integrate that now? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the multiverse angle seems like the fastest and the most, the quickest and the easiest route.
So just introduce them in. It's like, hey, these guys existed in another reality. Let's bring them in.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's also it's also at that point, it's like, so mutants never existed in this reality at all? They just existed in that reality then? You know what I mean?
I mean, again, we know they've made crap tons of changes in the MCU from the comics. You know, they've definitely gone their own route. So that's definitely,
they don't have to.
Yeah, they don't have to, and they have not. They followed, you know, the comic book timelines and storylines completely accurate. They've gone way off course, but it's going to be really interesting to see how they played out, because with them introducing the multiverse and the myriad of ramifications that they've introduced just from the WandaVision series alone, there's a lot of different things that we could yet see roll out.
I'm very curious. I mean, again, we don't have much longer to wait. You know, the episodes have been roughly around 30 minutes, so, you know, we have about an hour left of content before it's revealed to us.
Do we know if any of these are going to be longer episodes?
I don't know. I don't know if that's been officially announced. But no, I'm not sure. I would imagine, because even shows like The Mandalorian and stuff, the finales aren't really any longer. They're about the same as all the other episodes.
Yeah, I hope, at least with this series, I hope that that's different, because Falcon Winter Soldier, they just announced that it's only 6 episodes. Did you see that?
I did see that, but they're like 40. They're borderline an hour long episodes, though, right?
Yeah, the thing that what I read was that what Disney said was that they limited the number of episodes so that they could maintain a high quality level that would exactly match the actual theatrical releases.
It makes sense. And if they are longer episodes, that would also make sense, because they're like, look, we're giving you, 35, 40-minute episodes. That's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're basically making 2 movies. But staying in the MCU, we got some pretty big news here recently. Spider-Man 3 for the MCU/Sony finally got a title, it was really cool, because Tom Holland and several of the cast members took to social media giving us fake names, like Spider-Man Phone Home, Spider-Man Home Wrecker, Spider-Man Home Slice.
Home Slice.
Yeah. I love how they keep playing with the home theme, but that was for a reason, because number 3 did in fact stick with the home theme. We got Spider-Man Homecoming. We got Spider-Man Far From Home, and the official title for number 3 is Spider-Man No Way Home. So
No Way Home, yeah.
That is the title for number 3. I wonder what it's like, because Spider-Man Homecoming made sense, right? Because it's like that was Spider-Man's first solo movie in the MCU. So it's like, he's coming home, Homecoming. Then Spider-Man 2, Far From Home, made sense because they were literally abroad, not in the US. So this one, with all the rumors and speculations of the multiverse or Spider-Verse being within this movie, I'm wondering if that means that this is Tom Holland's exit, because we also know with coming with this news of the title that his contract is up with Marvel. So that
Which
means
is very interesting.
Right. So that the title's No Way Home, and then they also announced that his contract is up. Now that doesn't mean he's not going to re-upped and Marvel and Sony aren't going to work something out with him, but it also doesn't mean they are. You know what I mean? It's up in the air right now. So I'm wondering if there's something there, like if this is like the swap out, or where they officially transition him into the Sony stuff, or is it going to be the other way? Are they going to officially transition Venom, Tom Hardy Venom, and all those characters into the MCU? I don't know.
Yeah, this has been the conundrum, right, with this whole Spider-Man deal, because they only did that one movie deal, and there's been rumors since that they were looking to re-up for at least 2 to maybe 3 more films for Spider-Man in the MCU, but it has yet to come to fruition.
Right.
And now with him being, it's the same deal, right? Like he's only got this one more film under his belt. So it's like, what are they going to do? But, the fact that they're breaking out this, Spider-Man, and they're making him clearly, they're making this Spider-Man film a huge pivotal aspect and part of the phase 4 for the MCU. Which you have to again imagine that is only going to further solidify Spider-Man as a central figure in that story arc. So it's like, but the title No Way Home, right? That's directly, not surprisingly, but it absolutely speaks to what they're doing with the multiverse, like that he's leaving Earth somehow, right? Like he's not going to be, he's not going to be around, or he's going to get trapped somewhere. So it is very curious. It made me kind of wonder what we saw at the end of the last film, right? Where we saw Jonah Jameson show up as, and it was, what's his name? I just forgot his name. There's so much forgetting of names. Go J.K. Simmons. Thank you. But yeah, we saw him show up as J. Jonah. That made me wonder, at the end of that film, was there already some kind of a manipulation of the multiverse that they were hinting at? Because the events in Far From Home were immediately after the snap.
Yeah, for sure.
So if that's the case, right, that was immediately after that, then you have to wonder if they are going to use the several snaps that changed, that brought, made half the universe disappear and then everybody come back, and because there was there were 3 snaps altogether. So it was the original by Thanos, then the one by the Hulk that brought everybody back, and then the third one by Iron Man, right? So there were 3 major snaps with the Infinity Gauntlet that they might be implying that there was some kind of a jumbling of universes due to all 3 of those snaps, and that might be why we saw J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson in that film at the end there.
The beauty with comics is you could do anything, right? And it's
you can absolutely
it'll
do
work,
anything.
because you could just explain it with some like BS, like, theory or something.
Yeah, right.
Because it's like, it's all fake, right? People can't fly. People don't have iron suits. So
exactly right. So he might be finding out, right? We might find out that at the end, that at the end of that film, and then leading into this new one, he might be slowly finding out that he's either in the wrong universe already, or that he's somehow like he finds himself, transported, or maybe, I don't know if, Mysterio might have something to do with it. I don't know. I'm not really thinking this through all the way.
Could you imagine that when he says...
But they could use that for sure.
Could you imagine that when he says Spider-Man is Peter Parker, but like it's not him, Peter Parker?
Right.
It's a different Peter Parker, and it's like Tobey Maguire comes showing up.
That would be really an interesting route to go. Like, what if if the snaps accidentally put him in the wrong universe, or it at least blended them somehow, and there's some kind of like a mismatch going on.
There's a
lot of ways they could go.
I just want a teaser for this, because this movie's been shooting. I think they're almost done shooting. They've been shooting for a little while now. I believe 2 months. If the movie's coming out December of this year, is what they're saying. I mean, come on, we got to get a teaser pretty soon, right? So you would think so, because normally,
at least by the summer.
Yeah, normally we have freaking teasers and trailers like a year and a half before the movie comes out. We're like, what, 8-9 months out?
Sometimes.
Yeah. What's that movie that what was it? There was a movie recently that I'm like, I feel like we've been waiting it forever because we got the trailer like literally 2 years before it came out.
Maybe Black Widow?
No, because that was because it got moved. This one.
Right. Okay.
That was because of the pandemic and stuff. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, point is, I feel like lately they've been holding trailers. Studios have been holding trailers a lot tightly. Like we just got a Mortal Kombat trailer, and that movie comes out in April. You know what I mean?
I think some of that has to do with everything that's been going on over the last
for sure. They're like
year
things
and
are
a half.
changing now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been crazy. So I think that they've been so busy trying to figure things out. And get a plan together of how they're going to roll things out going forward. That I think that probably disrupted things a lot.
Which
just think about the fact that we didn't get any major Comic-Cons at least in a typical fashion last year. So it's like that's typically where they roll a lot of this stuff out.
For sure. And not to jump ship so abruptly and change topics, but there's not much more we could say about a title. But speaking of the Mortal Kombat trailer, dude. Dude, I
didn't see it. I still haven't watched it.
You didn't watch the Mortal Kombat trailer? What is wrong with you?
I still have not watched it. No.
Oh my, what is happening, Tim?
I know.
What are you doing to me? What? Okay.
I am behind.
Okay.
We can talk about it. I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay. So, I think I've said it here on the podcast, definitely on Variant's YouTube channel, that I am a massive Mortal Kombat fan. Like, Mortal Kombat is literally my favorite fighting game of all time. I love the first movie. Like, that movie will always hold a special place in my heart. I know, like, when you rewatch it now, it's cheesy and stuff, but I don't care. I love it. I had that thing on VHS. I wore that crap out. I watched the behind the scenes. Like, I love me some Mortal Kombat, right? It's reason why.
If you were embracing those original films, that's Die Hard right there.
The first one was awesome, and I actually kind of liked Annihilation too. I know that one, even the Mortal Kombat fans are like horrible, which it is. Yeah. But again, I'm like this 10-year-old, just wanted to see Scorpion say, "Get over here." And the fact that I was able to see like, Rain and Ermac and all this stuff in the second one too, I'm like, dude, this is awesome. Like, obviously it was horrible, but I still liked it as a kid and definitely really loved the first one and still love the first one. Anyway,
right.
Those were PG-13 Mortal Kombat movies, which great.
This
awesome.
One is not.
This one is not. Which those are great, awesome. But anyone who plays the video games and is a true Mortal Kombat fan knows there is no way you could tell that story right without giving it an R rating, because the story is R. Like it's
brutal. Yeah.
The whole point of the game and what made the game popular is like the fatalities, right? The way they kill people, ripping spines and skulls out and cutting people in half and impaling them. Anyway, this. I don't want to give it away because you haven't watched it, but I'll be vague. I will say,
it's fine.
Do you care about spoilers? Because there is one character I do want to mention.
No, you can say it.
Okay, all right. So first of all, Sub-Zero looks great. Scorpion looks great. We hear him say, "Get over here" in the trailer. Of course, the fight scenes look ridiculous. We get a brief clip towards the end of the trailer of Sub-Zero fighting Scorpion. Amazing, looks straight out of the video game with everything they do with like the ice and the get over here and all that stuff and the fire around Scorpion. Love it so much. The one thing that I was happily surprised that I told you in a past podcast that I was like, I just want to see Goro in this movie, and who were like, I don't know, it might be a sequel. I'm like, yeah, but I want to see it. Goro is in this freaking movie, Tim. He's in the freaking.
Oh, wow.
They show like a brief clip of him just jumping in the air, attacking someone, and he's all CGI, obviously, because Goro, it's the only real way to do characters like him and Thanos and stuff like that this day and age.
Right.
But dude, awesome. He's massive, so we know we're getting Goro in here, Sub-Zero, Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, Kano. There's also hints of possible reptile being in this film, because there's a creature in here as camouflage that everyone's guessing is reptile. That's my guess as well. And then maybe, just maybe, the Sub, because if you know anything about Mortal Kombat lore, there's two Sub-Zeros, right? Like there's the first one, then he gets killed, and then his brother comes back and takes on, the mantle of Sub-Zero for him. But I'm wondering by the end of this movie if we're gonna get that and we'll see like a Noob Sabat. I don't know, because the original Sub-Zero becomes Noob. that may be a little too much. I don't know if they could fit that much story in here because you would have to literally kill him off and then introduce his new brother. But like, you could definitely kill off this Sub-Zero, have Scorpion kill him, and then have the brother at the end of the movie be like, "I'm here to avenge him." You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I don't know. It just looks really good. I mean, again, with that said, this is not a movie by any means. People are going to say it's critically acclaimed and all this stuff, but for sheer cool factor, I think it's going to be a ton of fun. It's the fighting, if anything, is going to look cool. The costumes look great. I'm excited. I'm excited to see some fatalities.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be quite a bit.
Dude,
I'm actually sitting
bloody.
here watching just the video without the audio here as you're speaking.
It's a Red Band trailer, yeah, so they don't hold anything back in the trailer.
I'm watching the Red Band trailer,
yeah.
And I will say the one thing that I have been really excited about, the character who's playing Scorpion, Hiroyuki Sanada, I am a huge fan of his.
Oh, he's going to be great.
Already.
He's going to be great.
He's good in everything.
He was in Endgame. Did you know that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I had to go. I was looking up his IMDb because I'm like, who is this guy playing Scorpion? And then I was like, oh my God, he's in Endgame. He's in it. And then once I found that out, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy. I love this guy. You know what I mean?
But he's been in, he was in Wolverine. He's been in so many things. But he's good. He's so good. He was in Westworld. Do you remember that?
Oh, you're right. What?
He had a huge role in Westworld.
See? Yeah. He's one of those actors that you like, but you don't necessarily remember all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But he's already awesome. So I was already excited that he was Scorpion. Mm-hmm. But the some of the stuff that they're doing, I totally agree with you. It's definitely not going to be like where it's like you're watching this for this is a great film.
This is going to win an Oscar. Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is going to be just, I think, fun. And they obviously, I can't imagine they're going to give us everything because they want to set this up to be a franchise if it's successful, to make multiple films. But as I just saw at the end there, they show a battle between Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I can't wait to see that.
Dude, when Sub-Zero freaking slashes Scorpion, freezes the blood in the air, then uses it as a dagger to stab him. Bro.
Crazy.
Bro, or even at the beginning of the trailer, Sub-Zero freezes Jax's gun, grabs his arms, freezes them, and breaks them off. I was like,
that's nuts.
But exactly, that's why you're seeing this movie. You're not seeing this movie for any other reason besides cool fight scenes and cool costumes for the characters we love in the games.
I'll tell you what, the other one that I'm very excited about and I can't wait to see, and it looks amazing in this trailer, is Raiden. I've always loved Raiden.
Cool. Yeah.
His power set is so cool, and so I cannot wait to see them to see what they do with him in the film, because in the trailer it looks awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When does that drop? It's in April, right?
April, yep, on HBO Max and select theaters that are open.
Nice. I will be seeing that in select theaters. We should rent out a theater and just go watch it.
Dude, that movie's gonna. I can't wait. Because again,
April 16th.
It brings back all that '90s nostalgia for me, because there's like around 10 things that you could name from like the 90s that defines my childhood. Like obviously like DC and Marvel, and then like Power Rangers would be another one, Ninja Turtles, and Mortal Kombat is definitely like one of the 5 or 10 that falls in that category.
Yeah,
so I'm super excited.
That's one of those games that, everyone from our generation, and even a little bit the one before me, and then younger, of course, but we all just remember playing Mortal Kombat with our friends till late hours of the night.
Finish him.
Fatality.
Yeah, dude. I can't.
So fun.
I just can't wait to hear that. You hear it in the trailer, but I just want to hear more of it. The get over here. So good.
Yeah, man.
So good.
That's going to be fun to watch, yeah.
But we got some casting news, Tim. We got some DCEU casting news.
That's right. A big piece, I might add.
This was out of nowhere, because we didn't even know that this character that they announced casting for was going to be in the Flash movie, the upcoming solo Flash movie. So that it was like a twofer, because it's like, oh, we're having this person play this person. It's like, wait, you're having this character in the DCE? We didn't even know you were having this character in the DCE. Like, what are you talking about? And that would be Supergirl. So first off, they announced that Supergirl is going to be in the upcoming Flash solo movie, along with Ezra Miller Flash, Batfleck, and Michael Keaton Batman. So,
which was a pretty big announcement,
right? That's stacked. That is, you have 2 Batman, Flash, and Supergirl. Right? Yeah. But that also tells me you're not bringing Supergirl into this movie just to have her in this movie. You're bringing her into this movie to hopefully set up her own franchise. Because Supergirl, it's Supergirl. You know what I mean? Like, she could easily have her own franchise, especially like, or at least be in Man of Steel 2. Introduce her here, then put him in Man of Steel 2 with Superman. Could you imagine seeing freaking Superman and Supergirl going ham on villains in a movie together?
That would be pretty cool.
Dude. That would be great. Anyway, they announced Sasha Calle will be playing Supergirl.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's a departure from your kind of stereotypical comic book Supergirl look. She's Hispanic, so she has like she's a brunette, dark hair, darker features, beautiful. We've already got concept art with her as or it's not concept art, it was fan art, right?
It's fan art,
yeah, fan art with her as Supergirl, and it looks awesome. I think she's going to look absolutely amazing as Supergirl.
For sure. I'm very curious to see, because like, as we know, traditionally, Supergirl in the comics is blonde, right? But Sasha is Latino, right? So she's brunette, right? So, but again, like you said, they did fan art. Now, normally I'm like a purist with this stuff, usually across the board. I'm like, yeah, but you just dye her hair blonde. But after seeing because even in seeing her, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I wonder if they're going to dye her hair blonde. But after seeing the concept art with her being a brunette and being blonde, I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling the brunette, because I also think it'll work more with Henry Cavill, because as we know, they're cousins. So it'll just make them like look more like family. And I think she looks tougher actually with brown hair. Like, it makes her look more imposing. You know what I mean? So
I agree with you.
While I'm normally a purist with this stuff, I think like if I was the director, I'd probably be like, nah, she's going to be a brunette in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it seemed like they wanted very specifically to go with a Latina for the role. So, it's like, let her be true to who she is. I mean, that's her look. And I agree with you 100%. I think she's going to be great. She's an American, but she's of Colombian descent. And I think she's going to look great in the role. Well, and honestly, she's my
Hispanic sister. I'm Puerto Rican, but
that's
we're both Hispanic.
Right. I think she's going to look great though. Whether they actually dye her hair blonde or not, I think she's going to look great in the role. The only question mark for me is, I'll say this first. I love the fact also that they cast someone who isn't a massive name. She's a soap opera star.
Yep.
For the Young and the Restless or whatever. So it's not like she's never done anything. I believe she was even nominated for an Emmy.
But it is. I know the point you're trying to make. It's like that is like apples and oranges when you're comparing the two.
Exactly. It's two totally different animals, and relatively speaking, she's a newcomer to film to major film especially.
Oh, this will without a doubt be her breakout role. Like
without any question,
she's Supergirl.
Most people don't have any idea who she is, and I really love that. I love it when studios take a risk with a big character and go with a relatively unknown name. I really like that, because it kind of tells me that not just the casting directors, but the filmmakers are being allowed to pick who they think is best for the role, not just what really popular name might be a good fit and draw the most attention to the film. They're actually looking for someone who's the best for the role.
I think it's when you're doing playing. I feel like when you're doing iconic characters like this, a lot of the time I feel like it's almost better to go with like a relatively unknown person,
right?
Just because there's no like expectation there, you know what I mean? Because as amazing as Leonardo DiCaprio is, it would be like off-putting seeing him play like Spider-Man and stuff. I know he was gonna play Spider-Man in the James Cameron Spider-Man movie, but it would have been a little like off-putting, right? Because it's like you just kind of see like Leonardo DiCaprio, if that makes any sense, I don't know, at least for me. So I just think sometimes it allows you to fall more into the fairy tale when you're not taken out of it by being like, hey, that's just Tom Cruise. You know what I mean? So
right.
It makes it more believable, I feel, sometimes, if there's no your memory isn't attached to like a face that you see all the time. So I just hope, again, like you said, we don't really know much about her as far as her acting chops, again, because being in a soap opera,
that's the question mark, right? Is how is she as an actress?
Yeah, it's completely different from a movie, and obviously now she's going to be directed by a big time director who did he brought the It franchise back, doing the first and second one. So he's a good director. We know that from movies he's done. So in his hands, I'm wondering what she's going to be capable of. He did say he went through over 400 audition tapes. So I got to imagine he saw something.
See, that exactly is what I'm talking about. And I did say, I saw that she was chosen from over 400 actresses.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly what I was speaking to, is that, I really like when that happens, because it tells you that the studio and the money allowed the creator and the filmmakers to choose who they felt was best for the role, not just, what big name might, help draw more attention to the film. Because I also I also love to see people given their shot.
Oh, for
you know
sure.
what I mean? Kind of like
it's like that underdog story, kind of, right?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like what's her name who plays Ray?
Oh, Daisy
Man, I'm
Ridley.
bad with names today. Daisy Ridley. Thank you. Good Lord, man. My brain is not interested in names today. But yeah, like how they gave Daisy Ridley this shot with Star Wars. I mean, she was a total unknown.
She was a waitress. And now she was a waitress.
Exactly. And she's now one of the biggest stars in the world because she got this shot. I love to see that. Especially when it, the person seems like a cool young person or whatever, just a cool person. And, Sasha, for any of you, if you haven't seen the video that they released of them telling Sasha that she got the role,
it's awesome. It's
just adorable. It made you happy. It made you feel good for her. So I love to see that. I love to see people who, have never, they're not already a really famous celebrity. Somebody who, is out there busting their balls like everybody, all the rest of us, given their shot to do something really cool and big and make a name for themselves. So I'm excited to see what they do with her as in the role.
For sure. So we know she's now playing Supergirl, but now we also know we're having 2 Batman, The Flash, and Supergirl guaranteed in the solo Flash movie. Yeah, I'm so curious to see, though, like, how she's going to get introduced. You know what I mean? Like, is she coming from a multiverse? Because we know that's obviously going to be a thing. Michael Keaton's in it. Or is she crashing to Earth? I don't know. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with it.
It's very interesting, man. We don't have a lot of information about what DC's doing with their cinematic side. As we've talked about ad nauseum, we don't have a lot of information about that. I don't even know that they fully have it all hashed out. But just to see out of nowhere them cast a Supergirl certainly gave me a little bit of hope. Like, okay, maybe they're starting to iron this out a little bit.
For sure. But Tim, as promised to all of our lovely listeners, from here on out.
Fantastic. Have we reached this part of the show?
We have reached it. From here on out to the release of the Snyder Cut, we must end every podcast with some Snyder Cut news or topic. And don't you worry, Tim, I've collected some news. But I feel like I should hold on to it.
I believe you because you are the worst human.
But I almost feel like I legitimately have notes in my phone where like I have, they just released this photo of Jared Leto. Oh, they just released this. But not only have we gotten several pictures since the last time we talked on the podcast from Snyder, we also got his official first trailer.
Yes.
We have.
That we did get. And I did watch that one.
We got the trailer, so I feel like that's what we mainly need to talk about here because I'm sure everyone would love to know, more so probably on this topic, your thoughts, Tim, on the Snyder Cut trailer, because we know you're just looking so forward to it. You just can't wait. You want to see all the images and scenes you can just before the release. I know you're just aching for some more footage before you see the movie. So, Tim, what did you think of the Snyder Cut trailer?
I hate you so much.
Yeah.
I am excited to see the film. I'm excited to see the film. Show us the movie already. It's like, the trailer. We got a trailer of a good, long, and it looks very cool. I'm going to say that. I thought the trailer looked great. I thought the effects looked great. I think Darkseid looks very cool. Superman in the black suit, dope. It was a little bit underwhelming in certain ways in the sense of, but only to the point that I have been making now for weeks, which is that stop showing us everything. because when we see it in the film, it's not going to be that surprising. It's not going to hit as hard because you already showed us everything. So, and that was kind of a little bit the effect with the trailer for me, which was that it looked great. It was cool and everything like that. But, and there was a couple of cool things, like we got to see Granny Goodness in the trailer, which was very cool. You saw the new, Steppenwolf, which is, he looks really cool. I mean, it's not new, but the revised version of him. There's some really cool stuff in that trailer, but again, there was like, for instance, this is the best point, the way I can say it. If he had not released images 2 days prior or whatever of the Joker, a week prior or whatever it was to them releasing the trailer, and they just released the trailer and the first time anyone was aware that the Joker was in the film was in that trailer, that would have been freaking huge.
It would have been, yeah.
But instead, these people released it. Zack Snyder, I'm talking to you. He released it on freaking Vero. Why? I have no idea. That would have been a very cool reveal. That would have been a big surprise. And more importantly, it would have allowed us to explore with our imaginations a little bit more and say, oh man, the film's coming out in just a couple of weeks. That's going to be huge. Instead, we got these like little, picture leaks and stuff like that. I guess it has the same effect. But it's like, why continue to do this? Because since then, and I know you're going to talk about it because you're the cruelest human being on earth, he's released more crap since then. And it's like, dude, what are you freaking doing? Show us the movie already.
No, I do agree with you. The thing I told you with the trailer is it looks awesome. It looks good. You know what I mean? I'm excited to see it. But it didn't hit, it was a little underwhelming for me as well. Just because, like you said, all the cool reveals in the trailer, he showed stills of prior to. So like for instance, he showed us Superman, in the black costume with the heat vision. Awesome. But he showed us a still beforehand. Then he showed in the trailer, we see freaking Darkseid walking with Granny Goodness and Steppenwolf. Awesome. But he showed us a picture of that where I would have been like, oh my God, is that Granny Goodness? But I already knew it was Granny Goodness because he showed us in the trailer. So, and then the biggest one for me, which everyone knows I'm a big Batman fan, is the freaking War Machine Bat Tank from The Dark Knight Returns is gonna be in this movie. Yep. But he showed a still of that the day before the trailer was released. If I would have saw that in the trailer without knowing that it was already in there, I would have been like, oh, like I would have had a bigger reaction. You know what I mean? Because I freaked out when I saw the still, but seeing it in the trailer would have been better because I would have been like, oh my God, the trailer gave us Granny Goodness. Oh my God, it gave us the War Machine tank. Oh my goodness, it gave us Jared Little Joker. So it kind of, I agree with you on that. I'm like, we're at the point where it's like, okay. But like,
and when it comes to film, there's another angle to that too, or another aspect, a level to it, is that when you see these things in a trailer, live action, the way they're supposed to move and live and breathe, it is a totally different presentation. And it gives the audience, the fans, a totally different emotional response than just seeing a picture, right?
For sure.
Like if he wanted to release those pictures as stills after he released the trailer, saying like, so glad everybody finally got to see their first look, really excited to see some of these things and that we're going to bring you blah, blah, blah. And then, put that with like stills from the trailer with some of these things, then that's a different thing. That's fine. That's just elaborating on what you already let people enjoy. But instead he does it in reverse. And it's like, stop it, bro. Stop it.
Playing devil's advocate though, everyone, I see people saying that, yeah, but that's because it's a 4-hour movie. So if this is what he's showing us, there's probably a lot he's not showing us. But I'm like,
I don't care. But why? So how does that excuse showing us so doggone much?
Because
how does that take that away? Because okay, but there could have been more.
There could have been more.
I want to see the film. I don't want you telling me. It's the same reason why I don't watch and I hate trailers that show me the entire movie in a trailer. I don't need to see the movie anymore.
It's true.
I hate that.
But
crap.
I think
so. And this is the same thing. He's doing the exact same thing, but it's worse now because this has been going on for what, 2+ years? It's 3 years of this stuff.
It's a long time, but it's his baby. He's excited. He didn't even get. Did you know he didn't even get paid for this Snyder Cut? Yeah.
They said that up front.
Yeah, that he wasn't getting a salary. He just said he wanted to dump that all into the production, which went into the additional $70 million it cost to make the Snyder Cut possible.
I also saw that when HBO first, and Warner Brothers and HBO first approached him to possibly do this and bring this to HBO Max, that they also wanted him to release it without any of the VFX.
He said nope.
Finished VFX. They just wanted him to release it as is, with all the stuff. And we talked about that being a possibility, and there was even people saying like, "Oh, like the audience is sophisticated."
I'm glad they didn't,
I am glad that he would refuse to do it unless they were willing to invest the funds to let him finish it. Because that's going to give everybody the full, again, I agree with the idea that the audiences have become sophisticated enough to have, to have taken that content.
But you want to see the final project. You don't want to imagine.
Right.
Or final product,
you want to let the creator bring the full creative vision to fruition. So if you're going to let him do it, let him do it. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I'm happy that he stuck to his guns, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, bro, you just went through literally years of fighting to bring this to life. You went through years of this. We like so much went into making this thing possible, including people sacrificing salaries and time and money and everything that the fans did. I mean, on and on and on. It's like, stop releasing photos and teases and leaks.
But that's because but Tim, listen, that's because he hasn't showed us Green Lantern. He hasn't showed us Deathstroke, really. He hasn't showed us Lex. We only got pieces of Iris West. Heck, for all we know, the JSA is in this motherfucking movie,
I just think that he is an addict. I don't think he can stop himself. I think it's like Donald Trump with Twitter. I think somebody needs to get the phone away from that man.
Okay, Tim, so you're trying to tell me the recent images he just released of the Joker with a crown of thorns on his head is too much, Tim? You think he should have waited?
Freaking ridiculous.
You're also telling me the new Nightmare picture that he released of Nightmare Batman is too much, Tim? Too much? You're also telling me the new picture he released of Cyborg in his mocap suit is too much, Tim? Too much?
Yeah.
That's too much for you?
Yeah.
You're also telling me the new black and white picture he released of Batfleck in the bat suit is too much?
Someone help. Send help. Someone send help. I'm being held hostage.
All right. Well, I'm gonna end on one final one, Tim. I'm gonna end on one final one. You're gonna tell me that when Zack Snyder took to the interwebs last week to reveal how Robin died in his Snyderverse, that's too much?
My God.
He goes on to say, you just hate me right now. And I quote, I'd always wanted to explore the death of Robin, Snyder said. And if there was ever going to be a next movie, which of course there probably won't be, I wanted to do a thing where in flashbacks we learn how Robin died, how Joker killed him and burned down Wayne Manor, and the whole thing that happened between him and Bruce. That's too much, Tim? Is that too much? You didn't want to know that?
What would have been a great time to talk about that? After we saw the movie. That's when you want to talk about that. After we saw the movie.
Now
he's still acting like he's in release the Snyder Cut mode. He's still acting like he's trying to fight to get his movie made. He's got to keep the fan base excited. You don't have to do it anymore, Zach. Listen, Zachary, if you're listening to me, if you're listening to this podcast right now, put the phone down. Put the phone down. Someone help. Help.
I know I said I had one more. That was my final one, but I got one more. This really is my last one. This one's actually a little.
You promised.
This is actually a few weeks old, but it's here. I don't know if I brought it up to you. I'm going to say it. That Zack Snyder confirms via Variety that Joker will have 3 different looks in his film. He'll have an asylum patient look, another bulletproof vest look with badges on it, which we saw at the end of the trailer. Yeah. And lastly, his surgical clothing outfit, which we saw in the black and white pictures, where he has the surgical gloves and that that jacket thing on, or whatever you call it, the smock, whatever you want to call it. And that's him. That's him. That's the 3 looks. So we're gonna get an asylum look, we're gonna get a bulletproof vest look, and then a surgical look.
Good.
And also, I guess, a crown of thorns, but that's probably a hybrid with a surgical look because he released a picture of that.
Because why wouldn't
we got
you?
A picture of that.
Right,
I love how this has not become a whether we do or don't like the Snyder Cut thing, but more of me just torturing you with it.
and torturing me, you are. Yes.
With all that said, though, like, yes, I think we could both agree he's releasing a lot, and I just wait. The movie's coming out in like what, a month now, so.
It's not even a month.
Okay,
it's not even a full month. I just want it. I
am excited to see, though. Like all joking aside, I am excited to see it.
I am too.
But
with everything that he releases, it angers me more. I just become more infuriated.
But Tim, that's why next week on the podcast we will end it again with some Snyder news, some Snyder Cut news.
Won't that be exciting?
You heard that, Variant Nation. Come back here, same time, same podcast, for some more.
Listen,
torture Tim with the Snyder
Mr.
Cut.
Snyder, attention, Mr. Snyder. You got the release of your film. You can stop now. You got it, man. You're getting to release your film.
I will say,
don't tell us. You don't have to do this anymore.
Are you going to watch the film in one shot, or are you going to do like 2 hours one night, 2 hours a different night, or 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night?
I'll probably break it into two viewings. I'll probably watch 2 hours and 2 hours.
But I feel like I'm going to do the same, but in one day, because I know like my feed is going to like blow up with spoilers of things that he actually hasn't released before the release of the film. If like, the Green Lantern ends up being in it and someone tweets that to me, I'm going to be pissed. So
that's true.
I'm going to have to like, I'll do what I do every Friday because of like the Mandalorian and WandaVision and now Falcon and Loki. Every Friday I'm basically off my phone until I watch the latest episode of whatever Disney Plus show is airing that night.
Right.
So I'm probably gonna have to pull that with this. I'm gonna delete Twitter and Instagram from my phone for that day, because sometimes you do it subconsciously, like you just, it's like a reflex because we're on our phone so much that you just Instagram and you're not even thinking about it, and then something gets spoiled for you.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm gonna have to delete them from my phone for that day.
I will say, because I am not someone, because there's a lot of people that don't like watching long movies. I do not fall in that category. I am a massive Lord of the Rings fan, and when I watch them, I watch the extended editions of both the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. And I'll sit down and I'll watch the full 4.5 hour film, like 4.5, depending on which one. So if it's good, I may just watch it all the way through. But
that's
if
true.
If it's like, if it's good, but it's like I can wait, I'll probably end up breaking it into two, watch it like one night, half on one night and half on the next night. And just stay away from social media.
It's crazy to think that if you start that movie at 8:00 at night, it's still not going to be done till midnight. Like that's midnight. Like that's nuts.
Hey, plenty of time for snacks.
For sure, definitely an intermission in there. Pause it, get some ice cream, some popcorn.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I will say too, because you brought up in addition to that, because that's going to be releasing in it's mid March, we'll call it. It's the same time as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we're going to have a lot to watch that week.
Well, dude, Invincible also, the animated Invincible series comes out March 26th on Hulu.
That's right. That's right. So that week, like there's like a 7-day period that's just absolutely jam-packed.
It's an onslaught of just comic book goodness.
We're getting the release of the Snyder Cut, the premiere of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're getting the Invincible, the release of the Invincible, the premiere of that series, and we're also getting at the end of that 7-day period, we're getting the release of they moved it. I was thinking of Kong versus Godzilla. They moved it, so it's a 2-week spread, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 2 weeks later we get Kong versus Godzilla. But in that short period of time, that's a lot of content.
That is. I always say it. It's a good time to be a comic book fan.
It is a good time to be a comic fan. And now we know, because we just announced too, shortly after that, just a little while later, we're getting the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
On May the 4th.
I can't.
On Disney Plus. Speaking of Disney
Plus. Dude, I'm trying to chuck my way through, make my way through the Clone Wars and even Rebels, but man, it's so much. Like I'm still on season 2 because the thing is, like, that's not the only thing I'm watching. I'm still trying to watch other shows. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just hard. And there's like over 100 episodes, I believe. And I'm only like,
it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's
So,
a lot,
but I'm digging it. I'm loving it. It's definitely giving me my Star Wars fix.
It'll do that because it is a lot of episodes. I mean, they're only like 20 minutes long, but
when there's 100 of them, that freaking adds up, or over 100 of them, that adds up.
But you got to get through season 7 before the Bad Batch.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Introduce.
I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna have to Quentin Tarantino it and be like, "This is the end." Then watch Clone Wars and see how we got there.
That's fair. That's fair because you got to wrap up the Bad Batch because Loki begins and now June 11th.
That's what I'm saying. It's
one thing after the other, man.
It's a lot.
No rest for the weary.
With that said, though, I think
we have covered.
We
some
have
ground
covered a
on our
lot
return
today
here.
for sure.
So that's good.
We talked about WandaVision. We talked about the Spider-Man title, Mortal Kombat, Supergirl, and I tortured you with the Snyder Cut.
Yeah. That last bit was my least favorite. In case anybody was wondering, it's my least favorite. But I hope all of you enjoyed it. And that's what it's
right. Well, we'll see you guys next week when we talk about all things comics.